And we will give everyone a minute to get on. I will do a sound check, and then here we go. People starting to pop on right now. All right, so whoa, there we go. We went from 3 to 40 already. Okay, so anyone who's on right now, if you guys would just give me a hello, we can hear you, everything is good. Already people raising hands. Hey, Kerrigan, thanks, Kerrigan, I appreciate it. Okay, you guys, as a reminder, you have a Q&A box. Thank you, Linda. Hi, Fonda and Jenny. Boom, everybody's just rolling in. This is awesome. Okay, we have a Q&A box, you guys, which is where I prefer for questions to be so I can track them. I'm not against the chat, but you have to be patient when I scroll back through. I want to encourage you guys to ask your questions, kind of save them towards the end if you can. And then remember this, we don't have 6 hours, even though this is a topic that could take 6 hours. We want to be a good steward of Dr. Hopkins' time. So today, Dr. Hopkins, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because your bio is so lengthy, and I really want you to speak to the coaches about why we're talking about this today.
Oh yeah, so I'll start just sort of with an overview. So I'm an emergency medicine board certified doctor. I'm 47 years old. About 7 years ago, when I turned 40, I think like everybody else, I had this epiphany. Oh man, I'm getting older. It's kind of harder to put on muscle. I'm starting to gain belly fat. What's going on? But even more importantly than that, I was noticing over the 20 years of practicing emergency medicine, something really strange was going on. We as a community, as a country, were becoming far more unhealthy. I was diagnosing more cancer than I ever diagnosed before, certainly more diabetes. We were seeing obesity rates skyrocket. And people that used to come to me with strokes and heart attacks in their 60s and 70s were now well into their 40s and 50s. And so I had this sort of, this epiphany of like, what is going on? And is there something that I can possibly do to try to help instead of just deal with this end of life or severely debilitating thing? Now, having said that, our technology is really good. If you can get to us in the emergency room, oftentimes we can save your life, but it doesn't mean that you won't be paralyzed for the rest of your life or has significant lack of heart function, which leads to, lots of issues. So I think that our technology is better, but whatever else is going on is a disaster. And so anyway, from that, I did a 2-year fellowship in anti-aging medicine through A4M. Took me about 2 years to finish it. And then I got hired right away by a company for consulting. And it was consulting in preventative medicine in the workplace. And from that, I got to travel all over the United States and meet really the upper echelon people at the top of prevention. And, a lot of them kind of got it, that we're just screwing it up as mainstream doctors. We're just missing the boat. And I certainly have had that personal experience in my own life. Going to see the doctor. I was seen by a nurse practitioner. She spent literally 5 minutes with me. I asked her questions. I never saw my lab work. She told me I had high cholesterol, but I wasn't really sure what to do. And I'm out the door, and I'm just like, wait a second, I'm a doctor. Why don't they send somebody in and actually talk to me for a while and explain stuff to me? So it happened to me personally, and so then I started, working with companies, and from it, I began to learn about advanced diagnostic testing, advanced labs for prevention. We can characterize disease much earlier now than ever before. So it's kind of like technology in the emergency room. We can use technology of lab testing now to see disease well before they're there and then try to reverse it. And so my passion became consulting in that area. So I consulted with a couple of advanced diagnostic companies, Biophysical Corporation, and then also Prism Health Diagnostics. They're a diagnostic laboratory out of Austin, Texas. And then I just finally said, wait a second, why don't I take this out myself nationwide? And it took a few years to kind of get the structure together, but now that forms the company, which I currently have, called YourLabWork.com. So I'm an emergency medicine doctor. I still work at the hospital. I work for the University of Texas and the Dell Medical School. And I go up there and I teach, and part of my passion is teaching. So I'm happy today to be invited to teach because, part of the mission is to try to get as many people enrolled in prevention as we can and to have an awareness. Because if you're not doing it, somebody else is going to be doing it for you. And so you might as well do it and do it the right way. That's what I'm passionate about.
I love that. I love it. We share that value too. I am such a preventative person in my life period. I'm not reactionary at all. And, when we go through a journey with our health, even if it's just a visit to a doctor's appointment, I think that we find that, wait a minute, if we're awake, we think I could actually prevent some of the things that I'm here for. We've got our eyes open, right? And we have the right tools. So you're going to show us all about those tools today. And share some really good information with health coaches about why they don't necessarily have to go to some course or class for 6 months to a year to learn how valuable labs are and how to actually have some understanding of them.
Yeah, for sure. So I can go right into my presentation. Was that what you want me to do?
That's great. Yep. Go ahead. And let me just say this to you guys while you're listening. I want to hear from you in the chat box. Why are you here today? Are you someone who is nervous about labs? Do you understand the importance of what a checklist they are to work with your client? So talk to us a little bit over here, because I use these chats to learn from you guys as well. When we're done, I like to go back and see what you guys are talking about. So tell us all about your experience with health coaching and labs as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I will mute if any dogs start to bark over here, but I'm going to let you take it away and I will field questions and just keep an eye on things for you.
All right. So can everybody see my screen here?
Yep. Looks good.
Okay, good. So if I go to slideshow, is that going to screw anything up?
Nope. It should just launch right into a full screen.
All right. So let's see if it does that. Okay. There we go.
Perfect.
All right. So I sort of entitled this thing, how do we incorporate lab testing into your health coaching program? But it really can be, how can you incorporate lab testing into your own life? So as a health coach, and I know that you strongly believe this, is, we lead by example. So part of what we do is we go out to people, our friends, our family. It kind of starts there, and we start to talk about the message of health. And we talk about, a lot of people want to talk about nutrition. A lot of people that lead by example just get approached and ask questions, how do you stay healthy? And particularly as you're getting older, hey, you look fit. What are you doing? Are you working out? And we have this in casual conversation every day. If somebody comes by, hey, you look great. What are you doing? And so part of what we can do is we can actually look really deeply and use the technology available. And I'm going to go over that with you. So a couple of objectives that I have here is, the first thing, I want you to learn about what lab testing options are out there. And then I want you to understand your client's journey, maybe your friend or family member or your actual client. And then we want to talk a little bit about how to review the results without stepping outside your practice, because you certainly don't want to take on any liability that you don't need. And you don't want to be blamed for missing something with someone because maybe you told them the wrong information. And then also, we want to build on top of that by learning how to leverage labs and these resources that I'm going to provide you to become a trusted expert. And again, I think the most important thing is I want you to actually order labs yourself and get educated. When we find that the people that affiliate with us that do the best are the people that have actually done the program themselves. In other words, they've gone online, they've ordered the testing, they've gotten the results, and they've gone through the educational process. So those are my main objectives for today. I love this particular slide here because this is the slide that we built in a company that was a $23 million company. So they put a lot of efforts and resources around trying to reverse disease. And they were an advanced diagnostic company. So what we were looking at is, when we look at aging well, there's certain things that we can't do much about. We can't do much about the fact that we're getting older. We can't figure out a way to stop father time. We can't, change, really our genetics. So we're born a certain way. We're either male or female. And then, these are the non-modifiable things. Outside of this box, though, are really key areas when it comes to aging. And inflammation is a hot topic. It's probably one of the hottest topics right now. Why? Because gut inflammation. Gut inflammation has really come onto the scene in the last decade or so, and everybody's sort of talking about it. Everybody's talking about, all kinds of things to do with the gut. And we're learning a lot more because we understand that the gut is attached to our brain. And, we've known that for years. It comes from the same embryonic tissue, so it would make sense that would be the case. But outside of the gut, there's also vascular inflammation that can occur. And we know that chronic inflammation is bad and acute inflammation is good. It's what causes and starts the healing process. So inflammation is a key area that we like to look at. And then if we rotate down and we look at insulin dynamics, well, what is this? Well, this is the area of blood sugar. And it really starts with something called fasting insulin resistance syndrome, where your fasting insulin is really, really high. And why do we care about this? Well, 40% of the population is now considered to be obese with BMIs above 30. That is unbelievable, and it's up about 7% just in the last decade. So it's just this train that's out of control, about ready to come off the tracks. Part of the reason why we're struggling with our weight is many of us have undiagnosed insulin resistance syndrome. As a physician, I can tell you that when I start somebody on insulin, when their pancreas can no longer produce it and we have to start them on it, what is the first thing that happens? And you might have noticed this with other people. First thing that happens is you gain 20 or 30 pounds. And the reason why is because insulin is a fat fertilizer. So insulin really adds the weight. In the same way, if you have high insulin levels in the fasting state, you're going to have really a difficult time losing weight. So I have many patients that struggle, and they eat great, they exercise great, they're doing all the right things, but they have these really high insulin levels. If the insulin level is not brought down, then they're going to have enormous trouble ever getting off the weight. Again, this is sort of an undiagnosed condition. Your primary care doctor probably is not really even thinking about this. Now, some of the functional medicine doctors are thinking about it. I think it's going to come. I think words out there on the street. I'm sure you guys talk about it. But it's starting to know, just like the gut issues were coming along a decade ago, we're now understanding insulin resistance syndrome. I just saw a commercial on TV about it, actually. I was like, whoa, there's a company out there that's actually talking about this. That's great. But the insulin resistance syndrome can lead to prediabetes. Okay, prediabetes increases your risk for cancer, increases your risk for stroke and heart attack, and then it ultimately can lead to diabetes. And if you have diabetes, you're at least twice as likely to have a stroke or heart attack, and at least 3 times more likely to get cancer. The reason why is because cancer loves a high sugar environment. So that's the insulin dynamics part of it. And there are tests that we can do to figure out if somebody has a problem in that area. Very simple test. Then if we look at hormone balances, this encompasses a lot of different things. We could be talking about the thyroid, which is a very common problem that people have, predominantly occurs in women, but can occur in men. We can also talk about adrenal fatigue. We used to think that if we measured cortisol levels in people, they would be super high because everybody would, have some sort of overstressed. But as it turns out, in clinical practice, what I see with the thousands of people that I've taken care of is that their cortisol levels are inappropriately low. So they either have obstructive sleep apnea from being overweight, just because it's a real common thing, and their hormones are never resetting at night, or they have big time adrenal fatigue. And of course, that is out there too. We've talked a lot about adrenal fatigue, and I think that's been out there now for a decade or more. And then finally, the last little circle up there is vascular integrity. And this encompasses, our balance between our good cholesterol and our bad cholesterol. And there are some advanced tests available to actually look even deeper and tell us our risk. And I'm super passionate about this because I know that about 1 in 5 Americans have lipoprotein A. And you probably never heard of lipoprotein A. Most people haven't, and your doctor probably has never talked to you about it. Lipoprotein A is the deadliest, smallest, densest particle there is, and it gets inside the lining of the artery easily and leads to accelerated vascular aging. So have you ever seen somebody who is maybe 50, who looked great, who exercised all the time, and then all of a sudden they drop dead? That person could have had lipoprotein A. That is a real common thing. I know that I have one of my nurses, and I may have talked about this before. She is in perfect shape. She eats wonderful. Her mother had a heart attack at age 47, and all her labs were normal except for her lipoprotein A, which was sky high. So I had my nurse checked, and of course it's genetically inherited. So my nurse actually had really high lipoprotein A as well. So we sent her for a calcium score, really easy test to do, and she had a real high calcium score, and she ended up having a lesion on her left anterior descending artery of her heart, which is called the widowmaker. So, and it's in the exact same spot as her mother had hers and had a stent. So this is, again, prevention. Normally if we would just have looked at her and we would looked at just normal labs, we would have said, hey, she's fine, there's nothing to worry about. So then I became kind of paranoid, and I thought, shoot, I better have my wife check for this. And of course, my wife ended up being positive. Her father was positive. So it's just a really common thing. And now this means that when my kids, get in their 20s or so, I'm going to have them checked as well. Because the truth is, we have to, if we know about it, we know it's a high risk. And it's something that's really difficult because you can't control with nutrition. I have a whole lecture about lipoprotein A, but my point is that the vascular integrity system right now is just being monitored by a simple fasting lipid panel one time a year if you go in for a physical. Otherwise, it's not being checked. And I'm telling you, there's advanced testing. It's available, very affordable, that I believe every person should get at least one time in their life to know kind of where they stand. Now, following these 4 circles, on the outside of this is all the great stuff that I think that it's great for health coaches to think about as they approach their patient. So if anybody wants a PDF copy of this, feel free, to get in touch with me, and I'll be happy to provide this to you. I think it's a wonderful thing to have as you approach every patient, because it helps you kind of think about all the different things that you think about in a whole person approach to care. And that's what I love about this particular slide.
We've already got people asking about all of the slides, if they could get their hands on those. So you and I can talk about or make arrangements for whatever you're comfortable with afterwards, for sure.
Okay, sure, yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about direct access testing, kind of where it came from, and what the present situation is. So, back in the olden days, you go to your doctor, they order a test they think they need, usually covered by insurance. The tests are typically not explained to patients. Certainly, that was my experience, and I know the experience of many of my patients. And so there was no ownership of the data by the patient. So the data was only meant to help the doctor, and it was never used to sort of motivate the patient. Now, in my practice, I use the data to motivate my patients, because I explain to them what every test means and the natural things or medications, if they need them, that they can do to fix each one of their biomarkers. So I make that patient actually own the results and own their performance, because we'll recheck the results to see how they did. And it's a great thing. It's a huge motivator for people, and my patients love it. So I definitely believe in patients having data. So if your doctor does a test on you, I highly encourage you to have the data and try to understand it, because there's tons of really good information out there. I actually have a lot of it that I can actually provide to you, and I hope to do that. Present day. Okay, so now this direct access thing is here. Now, one of the biggest companies, probably our biggest competitor, is called Direct Labs. They're a company that started, probably one of the first companies to do this. And now people can go and they can order their own labs. And many states allow this to happen. Some states require a physician order for this. But I kind of like it because it's a cash transaction. There's a transparency there. You can go online and you can figure out who has the best pricing. And then the client who actually orders this test actually can get the actual data, and they can use it to achieve their health goals. The problem with it has been it's kind of confusing because it's unguided, and patients, don't know what test to order, and they don't really know what they need. And some states restrict access, and so it can be somewhat confusing for people. And this is, I think, the opportunity that you guys have right now as health coaches or as health warriors. When we look at incorporating this either into our personal life or a health coaching program, it does bring up some questions. The question is really, I don't really understand how I can make this part of my program, because, I don't really understand the test. I may not know what test to order myself. Are they really necessary? Do they really actually help that person achieve the goals that I want for them? And then, will the labs help my client's journey? And most importantly, is this outside my scope of practice? And, I don't really feel comfortable if I direct clients to labs and I get an affiliate payment. So is it ethical? So I want to try to answer these questions for you and just kind of set the stage from where you're at, because I want there to be a comfort level and an understanding of where we're going in the healthcare industry. So this is from the New England Journal of Medicine. It's kind of cut off there at the top of the Journal of Medicine, just above this, New England. So it's the New England Journal of Medicine. And these are a couple of doctors that are coming out against the annual physical. They said, look, the annual physical is a huge waste of time. It's really all about a doctor getting to know a patient, ordering screening blood tests. They're oftentimes normal. And this is just a huge waste of our healthcare dollars. And we really don't feel like, it pays to have insurance companies cover this anymore. And people only really need to come when they're sick. And so this is really interesting now, because, okay, so are these guys telling us now that there's, where is prevention in all this? I thought the annual physical was prevention. I mean, I thought that's what it was set up for. I mean, otherwise, if you don't have the annual physical, then you're coming in with a chief complaint, which means an illness or a complaint of some type, back pain or headache or whatever. So this is the direction. They're kind of going away from the annual physical. So now look what's happening in the direct access testing market. So if you look here on the slide, to the left is the millions of dollars that are spent on direct access testing. And then on the x-axis here, we have the years. So from 2010 projected up to 2020 here. And as you can see, there's been a huge spike in people wanting to utilize direct access testing. So my real point here to you is, if you're not going to do it, then somebody else is. Somebody else is going to direct them to the programs, or the patients are going to find it online. There's huge booming consumerism out there. And it really kind of is nice if you kind of learn about it and you can make it as part of your transformational program. So I have to tell you, we're right now in negotiations with the second biggest gym in the United States. And these gym owners, they see a huge value in asking their clients before they join their transformational programs to get lab testing done. They feel like it's a huge motivator, and it's going to set themselves apart. So if you're not going to do this, I'm telling you, the guy down at the gym is going to do it. So I think it's really important for us to understand kind of what's coming. It's kind of exciting in a way, because it allows us to actually get access to something we haven't had before, and to leverage that into our clients actually getting better and actually having a little bit more value. So if on your site you have transformational programs or high ticket sale items, this is a nice thing that you could possibly add into your program. You should have a desire to become a trusted expert in your field. That's why you guys, take all the class, and this is why you guys are here today, because you want to learn more. And certainly we're out there to try to help you connect and to teach. Now I can just tell you here that I'm going to be, as far as your lab work thing, I'm extremely motivated to try to help teach and to help you take the health message out there. This isn't just about making money. This is about actually making a difference. If I wanted to just make money, I would have probably just stayed in the ER. This has been a work of passion for me, and I would love to see you guys become part of it and to help take that message out a little bit further with just a little bit more resources. So commissions, I want to talk about this because this is sort of the ethics things. So, some people are uncomfortable getting commissions. So the question is it legal? Well, yes, it is legal. In our industry, it's widely used. I know that companies like Direct Labs do offer revenue sharing. It's usually 8 to 10%. Our revenue share is 20% for health coaches. It's significantly higher than all of our competitors. And the reason for that is simply that we really feel like what's missing here is a solution. Because labs are commodity. You get on the internet, you might find one here that's $1 less or $20 more or whatever here and there if you want to, but who is going to actually offer a solution? And how are we going to really have a support for that patient to understand the results and to be able to deliver, the support that a patient needs and accountability? Because our patients and our clients really want accountability. They want someone to say, hey, are you doing this? Are you taking care of this? So as far as we're concerned, the important thing is that we adhere to FTC guidelines of transparency. That's the Federal Trade Commission. By making a small statement on your site that says making a purchase through your affiliate link doesn't cost your client anything, but we receive a small commission. Something as simple as that next to the link where people can see it is extremely transparent. And you really should be doing this with anything that you endorse. It is what the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, could come after you for. I can tell you that I know a lot of people, online personalities, and as you get bigger and bigger, these things are scrutinized, and they will come after you if you're not transparent. And I think it's good for clients to know too. This is just complete transparency, and you give them a choice. I mean, that's really what it is. So I think that kind of helps with the ethical argument. It's legal, and also you're being transparent. You're not trying to hide anything here or trying to take advantage of anyone. You're just there to actually help them.
Right. And let me just, if I may insert, let me just say, hey, you guys, please, I know I mentioned putting questions in the chat earlier, but let's move them to the Q&A because we're getting a lot. And it's going to be hard for me to track all of them. So if you want your question answered, please put it in the Q&A. Thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm wondering, do we need to try to answer some questions, or should I?
No, I think we're going to get on a tangent. I like to kind of stay with the presentation, and you may actually answer some questions as we go through. So whatever's left at the end, we'll go ahead and get to those.
Okay. All right. Great.
Awesome.
So my focus for you would be that you're an advocate, you're an educator, and you're a transparent resource provider for people. So I want to talk a little bit about how we started this. So your lab work, we really wanted to focus in and use some of my expertise on what I'd learned for preventive medicine and everything that we'd gathered about what were the most important biomarkers to look at in the key areas of aging. And so when we looked at it, we really felt like these 5 areas were extremely important when it came to aging. And if we take it and we put it and overlay it on the circle that I showed you, we can sort of associate some very basic labs with each one of these core areas. So as you can see, inflammation, high sensitivity CRP, not commonly tested by primary care doctors. Homocysteine, almost never checked. But we do know that both CRP and homocysteine, if they're high, they can have extremely damaging effects if it's a chronic elevation. So for example, homocysteine's been associated with increased risk for Alzheimer's disease. CRP, when it's high, has been associated with increased risk for stroke and heart attack and autoimmune diseases. And if I have patients that have CRPs above 20 in my clinic, and I've checked them a couple times above 20, they almost always have an autoimmune disease or cancer. So it's a good screening test to do to see if a person has evidence of significant inflammation. The other issue is homocysteine, which I talked about Alzheimer's, but it also, when it's high chronically, does increase your risk for stroke and heart attack. And we know this from research studies. So part of what I do for my patients is I screen them and just make sure that they don't have issues with this. And I actually follow these inflammatory markers, particularly your CRP, as I'm fixing the other problems that are going to come along. Because in everyone, I will find a problem. I will. It'll be there because I'm looking for optimal, okay? I'm going to try to make everyone just as perfect as can be. And that's sort of the anti-aging part of it, right? Is I'm going to try to make them younger by fixing the systems that have gone astray. But inflammation is one system to look at. Insulin dynamics, what is that? Well, fasting glucose, A1C, which is the 3-month measurement of blood sugar, and then fasting insulin. I talked about that being a huge problem right now. Tons of people are walking around with really high insulin levels, hoping to lose weight, but they're not going to because they're eating way too much sugar, okay? I mean, the average person's eating about 200 grams of sugar a day. And you really should be 25 grams or less in anything that's processed, anything that has a label. So it's just what's going on right now. Now, is it helpful for a person to know that they have insulin resistance syndrome? Actually, yes. It takes a lot of the sort of the guilt away from a lot of my patients that have really sort of been putting an effort in. I just kind of say, hey, look, this fasting insulin thing's a problem. We need to work really good on building, some lean muscle mass. The more muscle cells you have, the more myocytes you have, the more you're going to be able to actually bring down your insulin levels. And let's get away from sugar. Let's just stop eating it. Let's just not make it part of our lives anymore. And after a couple weeks, that whole thing that goes on in the brain, the cocaine-like effects of sugar, starts to subside. And then my patients actually get sick when they go out and they eat some sugar. And then I know that we've arrived. So there can be very natural fixes for early stage insulin resistance syndrome. But if you never ask the person to get checked for it, you're never going to know that they have that problem. And then hormone balances, we talked about this too. There's testing that can be done for cortisol. I prefer to do AM cortisol as a good screening test for obstructive sleep apnea. That's the first thing I want to make sure they're doing. And that's kind of why it's down in the sleep category down here, is that sleep is so important to the recovery and the regeneration of the body. And many of my patients are overweight. They're struggling with their weight. And when I check their AM cortisol, it's so dirt low. And I find that all night long, the insulin and the cortisol have been surging all night long, along with blood sugar. Why? Because the person's about to die in their sleep from obstructive sleep apnea, and they don't even know it. They just wake up feeling tired and fatigued. So what can you do as a health coach? If you see a low AM cortisol, you could say, hey, you know what? you might do a Berlin and Epworth sleep surveys, and you give them these sleep surveys. They're available online. Type them in, you get them down. They're 10 questions each. If either one is positive, and it'll tell you they're moderate or high risk for obstructive sleep apnea, you can tell them to go see their doctor or go see a sleep specialist. And then their problem will be actually diagnosed and fixed. You're not diagnosing the problem, you're having a concern. And that's what we're going to talk about here in a minute, about how to avoid, getting in trouble by looking at the labs. The other kind of cutting edge thing is fat hormones. Leptin and adiponectin are never checked. They're really interesting. It used to be that we thought that fat was just a storage point for energy. But as we turned out, it's like an endocrine organ. And so it's spewing out these hormones. Adiponectin is a good hormone. It's anti-inflammatory. And leptin is a bad hormone, and it's pro-inflammatory. And so it's kind of nice to know about that. And then on the upper hand panel, the advanced lipid panel, again, I just believe this should be done in everybody at least one time just to get a baseline. And then I also put a box around nutrition. Why? Because you guys can make a huge difference in nutrition. And there are some nutritional deficiencies that are extremely common that I think need to be checked. Vitamin D deficiency, 70% of people are deficient in vitamin D. The omega-3/6 index or ratio, about 90% of people are deficient in omega-3s. Why? Because you're eating terrible. That's why. So supplementing in the key areas can actually help people. It's kind of interesting because we look at vitamin D, a lot of good research around cancer prevention, but also we think it might improve insulin levels. Fasting insulin, we think it might help insulin work a little bit better. So optimizing vitamin D has become key. We've also studied it for, lowering blood pressure and decreasing depression. So vitamin D is a critical vitamin to have plenty of. Same thing with omegas. Omegas are responsible for your cell membranes, the walls around your cells. And if a person doesn't have the right balance, their cell membranes become really stiff and resistant to the metabolic exchange. And so by having plenty of omega-3s around, your cell walls become really pliable, and it allows the nutritional process to take place really easily. So I like those particular two, but there's others. B12 and folic acid, these are really important when it comes to lowering homocysteine. So I think that there's 5 key areas that you can sort of look at. So now I wanted to just try a little case study with you and see what you would do when a person comes to you with this particular problem. Is everybody ready for that? Are you ready for that? Okay. All right, so we're going to understand the client's journey. Oh, okay, I guess I skipped ahead with this. Okay, understand the client's journey here. In order to get some of these tests done, we just need to know, is there a Quest station nearby? We partner with 4,000 Quest locations. New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Rhode Island don't allow us to do so. They have very restrictive state laws regarding direct access lab testing. But all the other states are available. And so if your client, family member, friend, just wants to go get testing, that's what they can do. They can go here. I love the custom panel that we do because it allows us to order single tests on people. And so if a person's budget is only a few dollars, you don't want to run out there and spend, $500, $600, $1,000 on tests. Maybe they just want to get one key area test. I can tell you that this is the way they do it. They just click on, whatever test they want, and then they can just order those tests. And it's nice. I do like it. And I did, when we organized it based upon that circle that I told you. We wanted to include the things in that circle that we felt were really important.
And if I may say, for those of you who didn't join us for the webinar prior, where we actually walked through the platform, our team is going to be putting that other webinar in there, so you can actually see what we went over prior to. So we have almost 1,000 people registered today, and lots of replays going on. But I just wanted to say that I will include the previous webinar so that we don't have to go over that all over again. Okay. Okay,
great.
Yeah.
So now I just want to try to figure out how we're going to review results without stepping outside the practice, and then also, what are we going to do to leverage these labs to become the trusted experts so that we can get more clients? Well, the key thing is we don't diagnose. So we don't tell somebody, oh, your blood sugar is 200, you have diabetes. We say, oh, your blood sugar is 200. We're really concerned about the possibility of you having diabetes. You should go talk to your doctor about this. And, you give them resources In fact, there's one video of me that's actually a resource talking about what levels are actually diabetes. You could point them to that resource, and right there they would know. They'd be like, oh boy, I would be definitely worried about this. I need to talk to my doctor about it. Making dietary recommendations, you can always do that. It's just a question of, what dietary recommendations are right for that particular person. I found that I don't believe in diets. I have to tell you that, even though I just contributed to a book about diets, but I don't believe in it. So I believe that every person has an individual way that they'll succeed, and it's different for everyone based upon their individual biology. Making over-the-counter recommendations, this is huge. I mean, you got vitamin D deficiency, you take vitamin D. How do I take that? Well, it comes in international units. Well, there's 2,000 units over the counter. There's 4,000 unit liquids. I know a website that sells 5,000 international units. That's a reasonable recommendation. You're low on omega-3 fish oil. Hey, this is an area where you have fish oil supplements. This is a trusted source you can go to. This is kind of the what I shoot for in my life. I try to shoot for this % of my ratio. So you can actually offer them your experiences and your concerns instead of telling them you have this disease. And I think that's kind of how you get out of trouble. Another thing to do, of course, for you guys always is developing and encouraging exercise programs, using the body and understanding why they're doing it. My patients who have insulin-resistant syndrome, they all know that exercise and increasing muscle helps lower insulin, which will help them overcome the barrier of weight loss. And so it's that's what I don't tell them just to go to the gym because they need to go to the gym and lose weight. I tell them you need to go to the gym because your fasting insulin level's high. And if you build more muscle cells, that insulin has the best chance of coming down. If you don't do that, it makes it that much harder. And so they're backed by a little bit more than just telling them, hey, you think they need to go to the gym. So that's the value I see in that. Providing clients with your resources, which we're going to try to help you guys out with. And then, of course, advocating for your client is a huge deal. I can tell you as a doctor, if a person comes in with an advocate, whether they're their family member or a neighbor or a health coach or another doctor, I mean, we have to spend a lot of time with that person, making sure that everybody's happy, okay? The one thing I will tell you in medicine that's going on right now that's absolutely crazy, and I think contributed to the opioid problem we have, is that we're trying to make everybody happy. The hospital systems are grading us on people happiness, and you got to be like so perfect in every way, even if you're giving people stuff that maybe they shouldn't have. And I particularly don't like it. I think for some people you have to set boundaries and you have to tell them no. But I'm just telling you, in medicine right now, if you're coming and you're advocating and you have questions, and that's why I loved your preparation, the thing that you did for your doctor's visit. It's just genius.
Thank you.
When they come prepared, it forces the provider to take extra time, okay? Mm-hmm. And that's what you almost have to do that, because that provider is under a lot of pressure just to go and see the next person, the next person, the next person. And if you don't have those questions, or you don't write them down, or you're not prepared, you're going to be in and out kind of like I am when I go. When I have questions and I'm still in and out, and I'm like, wait, and the door shuts. I'm like, okay, wait a second. So I think that if you go prepared, that's your best chance. And this gives you some nice things, because this is data. So let's take a real life person that comes to maybe see you. And this might describe a lot of people. I don't know. Somebody who's got low energy, they're fatigued, they have trouble losing weight. I mean, that I can think that's got to be half the population or more. Mm-hmm. They have some other symptoms too. And so you're looking at this little wheel that I gave you, and you're like, okay, so what, if I'm looking at these 5 main categories that I talk about, the vascular, inflammation, insulin dynamics, hormones, and then nutrition, like, where is this person's problem most likely to be? So if they asked me, hey, what tests would you recommend here? What tests would you recommend for this person? I'm just curious. Does anybody have any ideas?
Do you want me to answer?
Okay, well, you can answer. Or
I know the answer because I have the problem.
Okay, all right.
Oh, goodness. Hold on a minute. We've got something happening to the there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, that was crazy. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
That was weird. Some video started playing on my other monitor and it came into this one. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, Yeah, you're getting all the answers over here. Thyroid, thyroid. We've got smart people on here today. Thyroid and hormones. Yeah.
All right, good. Because vascular integrity, I mean, you know, they typically don't have any symptoms when they have high cholesterol. Inflammation, joint pains, or oftentimes no symptoms. Sugar problems, they're urinating all the time. If they have diabetes, their vision's blurry, they're thirsty, but oftentimes no symptoms. Certainly no symptoms with insulin resistance syndrome, except maybe struggling with their weight. Right. So I think that hormones, okay, right. So you point people towards, hey, you know what? You got to get your thyroid checked. So good, you passed the test, because that's kind of what I was looking for. Is I wanted to see if you guys would point the person in the right direction. Again, this is not sort of rocket science. This is just having a systematic approach to everything. So now this person has a high TSH. You know, TSHs above 9 used to be normal. And then we started checking everybody, and we found out that that it's not normal. And so every year the TSH keeps coming down, down, down. Now the optimal TSH is considered to be less than 2. I'm talking about optimal. I'm not talking about normal reference range. So the reference ranges have changed over time in the lab industry. But you can see this person has a real problem generating free T3. Free T3 above 3.2 is considered optimal. 2.7 and 0.8 on their inactive T4, pretty low. So this person is undergoing a major attack on their thyroid and has Hashimoto's. That's what the thyroid peroxidase antibodies being high indicate. So as an advocate for this person, do you have to diagnose them with Hashimoto's? No, you could say, I'm concerned that your thyroid is not working correctly, and I'm concerned about these abnormal results, and I'm concerned about the possibility of Hashimoto's disease, okay? Because I Googled it. It doesn't matter. You're concerned. You don't have to tell them that's what you have. You say, I'm concerned. Oh, okay, hang on a second. So in this particular case, you tell them you're concerned about their thyroid and Hashimoto's disease. So just a quick review of the thyroid. You know, our brain itself releases this TSH, and the TSH signals the thyroid to make both T4 and T3. T4 is either converted into reverse T3 or it's converted into T3. 80% of what our thyroid makes is T4. The other 20% is T3. There's a number of people that are on thyroid medication, and the most common medication that we put people on is called Synthroid or levothyroxine, and it's T4. And, you know, a long time ago, the pharmaceutical industry convinced us, when I say us, I mean conventional doctors, convinced us that Synthroid was the only way to go because it had a really long half-life. It would last about 7 days in the system. And so if you missed a dose here or there, you had a problem with absorption, it wasn't that big a deal. But the problem was that a lot of people, about 15 to 20% of the population, didn't feel right when they were put on Synthroid. They didn't feel like it was working. They still had the symptoms, all the same symptoms that they came to you with. And so what we found out is that about 15 to 20% of the population has trouble converting T4 into T3. Now, you can have this exact same problem and not have Hashimoto's or any other problems. You could have problems with chronic dieting, for example, and I'm sure there's tons of people who have gone through yo-yo dieting. Yo-yo dieting can actually, by itself, decrease the conversion of T4 and T3. So I want to show you another, this when it says normal eating is room, thyroid levels and metabolism often do not return to normal for 3 years. 3 years. So when you yo-yo diet, it can literally cause problems for 3 whole years.
Isn't that crazy?
So let's just say a person is not taking medicines, but you know that their T3 is low because you see it, and you see that it's low, their TSH seems normal, but they have all those symptoms of hypothyroidism that you're worried about. Well, look at all the things that can cause problems with conversion of T4 to T3 in the peripheral tissues. Everything from diabetes to depression to inflammation, stress, of course, being overweight. You know, who's not overweight right now, right? Leptin resistance. Leptin, what? Who's measuring leptin? Nobody. Okay, aging, all right. Autoimmune disease, insulin resistance. Again, who's measuring insulin? Nobody. Fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. So all these kind of things can interfere with that normal conversion process into T3. So that can make that person never really feel right. Okay, so what do you do in that case? So let's just say the TSH is normal, but the free T3 is 2.5 or 2.2 or 2. and you know, boy, there must be some sort of problem here. Well, that's when you go back to your wheel that I gave you, and you start thinking about all the different things that maybe weren't addressed when you initially talked to that person. Could they have autoimmune disease? Maybe they need a CRP. Could they have insulin resistance syndrome? Maybe we need to check fasting insulin. Could they have diabetes? So those are some things that you could think about as you're starting to leverage what you know about people in your area. Maybe the person now needs to be referred to a functional medicine doctor who worked closely with you in this patient's health journey, because you think maybe that person will benefit from some Armour thyroid or Nature thyroid or something like that has both T4 and T3 in it. Sometimes my patients, I will put them on a combination T4, T3 medication until these issues are fixed, because it actually makes it a little bit easier to fix the issues, particularly when it comes to insulin resistance and weight loss, if their metabolism is optimized. So it's not necessarily a lifetime of medication, it's maybe a short-term kind of thing. Kind of like we do now with prediabetes. We treat it very aggressively and we reverse it, and then we take medications away if we have to. So again, it's about being an advocate for your client. Thyroid itself is pretty complicated, but this is just sort of a case study to look at, what are we going to be worried about with this particular person? So TSH, again, the goal is less than 2 for most people. This is to be optimal. And if I have a person on medications, they typically do not feel better unless that free T3 is high enough and their TSH is very suppressed.
Right.
Some people are, are 0.1 or whatever. And then these are more of sort of doctor things here. TPO antibodies, you guys were on it with the Hashimoto's, you knew about that. And then we try to treat them if they're symptomatic and really boost them up in both their free T3 and free T4 range.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay. So I wrote a thyroid ebook. It's 60 pages long. It covers like all of the stuff we're talking about in a safe way. And one of the antibodies tests that I recommend is the TGAB antibody test. Do you recommend that as well, or do you offer that in the yourlabwork.com as an a la carte item, or?
Yes, it is. It's offered as an a la carte item and also in a bundled item.
Okay.
From my understanding is that TPO antibodies are a little bit more sensitive, meaning that you're going to pick them up a little bit more often compared to those others. But we test both of them in our patients. And of course, the intervention now is different than before. Before we might see somebody who has completely normal TSH and normal free T3 and T4, but they have positive antibodies only. Well, what's their risk of conversion, to complete thyroid failure? It's about 5% per year. So what we're doing for them is we're actually starting them on medications early. And we're doing big time nutritional intervention, putting them on an anti-inflammatory diet and really trying to reduce the antibodies if we can. And after the antibodies reduce, we take them off the meds.
Right.
So it's kind of meant to try to slow down the whole process.
Yeah.
Maybe controversial. There's some people that, just say, well, I'm just going to treat the TPO antibodies and get those down. But for purposes of health coaches, if a person has positive TPO antibodies, you need to reduce that person's inflammation anyway.
Yeah.
Because inflammation itself is just a crazy topic, right? 80% of all inflammatory disease occurs in females. Okay. To me, that is, it's mind blowing to me. 80% of all inflammatory conditions occur in females. The ratio of Hashimoto's compared to male, so the female to male ratio is about 18 to 1.
Isn't that crazy?
One guy, there's 18 women. But in very, very many autoimmune diseases, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, many of these have a strong female predominance. And I can tell you there's some really cutting edge research going on right now, trying to figure out why. Why does that happen? And it's extremely interesting. We think it has to do with hormones, estrogen dominance. And also we think that it has to do with the actual genes themselves and how a woman has to suppress more genes. Women tend to have a much more robust immune system. When we give them an injection of, say, tetanus, and we measure their antibody response to it, it's extremely robust, far more than men. So their immune systems are dynamos, and that can be harmful sometimes, because if your immune system is overactive, then you can start attacking lots of other things. But that's kind of in my inflammatory lecture. There's a ton of really interesting stuff about inflammation. I think inflammation is it's extremely cutting edge what we're learning about inflammation.
I would have to say that I think, to throw this out there, and it's simplified. I'm always going back to the simplest thing. I think women are probably, we have more predominant diseases and problems because we take on a lot more stress physically, emotionally, and mentally, not by choice sometimes, but we do tend to overfunction in our relationships and our homes and our lives. And stress is a trigger for Hashimoto's and autoimmunity. I myself experienced that. So, that's just one of my thoughts is like stress is a precursor to all disease, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, big time. Stress and the lack of sleep and the reparative process, because we're stressed out or we're just not, we're borrowing from our sleep time to deal with all the other issues in our life. That I definitely think that there's a lot of good data around stress and autoimmune disease. The other interesting thing when it comes to talking about women is that there's a lot of research out there that we really think that they're underdiagnosed. Because so many doctors, and this is more maybe old school way, women would go to the doctor and they would have all these complaints. At least the doctor was thinking it's just complaints. This is a study with male physicians and female patients, that oftentimes the male physician was much more likely to disregard the woman's complaints and not do the, not look to an extreme amount to what's going on inside their body. And so there was some idea that maybe we're actually underrepresenting the amount of autoimmune disease that women actually have, because a lot of the symptoms they have, at least in this study, they were saying that male physicians were more likely to say, you're fine, that kind of thing. So I do think there are some social and gender differences, but certainly on the genetic realm, there's and hormonal realm, there's big time differences. But that's a huge topic, inflammation in and of itself, right? Okay, so my objective today was to try to figure out a way to enroll everyone watching into the process. And that would be, if you can, and you can order labs for yourself. So if you're near a Quest Draw station here in the United States, in one of the 46 states that offer it, then please go to our website and get educated. We have never made it easier for a group of people than we made it easier for you today. And we also have some interesting things we can throw in there for you. We want you to become an affiliate, meaning we want you to be a spokesperson for getting lab work done. And the best thing to do is to go ahead and log in, become an affiliate, and put a blog post in there, order some tests, get your blood work drawn, and then receive a 20% commission. So we're going to pay you on labs that you will order, even for yourself. And that's kind of my ask, is for you to go for it, because in medicine, what we do is we ask somebody to see one, do one, and teach one. And this comes with anything. So if I'm going to do a spinal tap on somebody, you're going to watch me do it. Okay, that was good enough. Now time for you to do it. Okay, you did it. Now it's time for you to teach Junior over there how to do it. The best way to actually learn the system and learn how this whole thing works is just to do it. So we tried to make this really easy for you and really affordable. We built a special page, okay? This is, Carmen, this is based on you, okay? Yep. Institute for Functional Health Coaching. So this is the page that we built just for you guys. And I personally designed 5 lab modules just for health coaches. I made them extremely affordable. And I also added a $50 live webinar for each module that's available. And the reason why I did this is because I really wanted people to understand their results on a much deeper level. The $50, by the way, is completely refundable. If you get nothing out of, and you tell me that I stink and it's not worth your time, after you've gone through that webinar, I'll give the $50 back, okay? The $50 is totally refundable if you do not get anything out of it. Because I want people to be super excited about what we're doing and what you're doing and the resources that you have. So I'm going to just go to that real quick and just show them that website.
I went ahead and put it in the chat for them. They've got it in there 3 or 4 times. So
okay, good.
Click the link right now, you guys, as the feed's moving. So go ahead and click it and grab it. Open it behind your computer until we're finished here, so you can see what's coming. And what's available to you. This is an opportunity, you guys. And just like I tell my coaches, my students and my mentorship people, I give an intake series for working with your clients. And I say, fill it out yourself. You've got to walk through the steps that your clients will walk through so you can fully understand what they're going to go through with the intake form. That's the same thing for labs, you guys. You need to be able to say to them, it's really easy. Here's how it works. I've done it myself.
So the video at the top will kind of explain just a brief overview of the process and how it works. We encourage you to sign up as an affiliate and then put in the information, put in that Carmen referred you. We think that's great. And then these panels here, what I did is I tried to make them inexpensive, keeping in mind you're also going to get 20% off this price. So for every panel, not the webinar, but for every panel, you're going to get 20% off the price on these. And so there probably won't be, you can tell me if you find some place that's cheaper, a cheaper way to get a lot of these advanced tests done. And again, these tests are the ones that aren't necessarily commonly ordered, both in all the 5 key areas that I talked about: nutrients, inflammation, cholesterol, hormones, and then the metabolism. And then at the very end, I have this sort of crazy thing that if you do the I Want It All panel, which includes not only the above 5, but a lot of other tests that we do, including the fat hormones and a lot of the sex hormones. This panel will actually include a phone call with me for an hour. We're going to go over all your labs individually, and we want to really make sure that you understand them. If you should decide to do any of the webinars, what we're going to do there is we're going to give you lifetime access to the particular webinar or webinars that you did, and then we're going to give you access to any updates that we do as we learn more and we build out things, as research shows more and we maybe add different things to these modules. But I think this is a great place to start. We tried to definitely make it affordable and value-oriented because we want you to have extreme value. We want to be able to over-deliver on what you're going to get because we think that if we do that, you're going to go out there and over-deliver for your clients, which is great for us and great for them. So we want it to be a win-win situation for everyone. So for example, if you want to do the I Want It All panel, it's the $1,250. It includes all the webinars. You're going to get 20% off that. So you're going to get $250 back through PayPal once you sign up as an affiliate. And so that cost would be $1,000 for all those tests and an hour with me. Now, I can only do about 20 people. I just don't have any more time in my schedule. So I'll limit that to the first 20 people that order that test. So now I think it's time to start taking questions. And I want to explain to you that these labs are extremely, to gain an in-depth knowledge of it, we really have to spend quite a bit of time. So if you look at these key areas, we're looking at an additional 4 or 5 hours, maybe even 6 hours worth of clinical education. So when you do the webinar, each webinar is going to be a minimum of an hour talking specifically about the key ways that we can optimize every test that is in that area. So for example, what I want to do is provide all the health coaches with a cheat sheet that I give to my nurses. And that is, okay, vitamin D is this is the optimal range. Okay, this is the normal range. This is what they need to do to get to optimal. Same thing with B12, vitamin B9, and so on. CRP is this. This is what we do when the ranges are between 2 and 10. This is what we do when the range is above 20. And so it's just a cheat sheet so that you can actually refer back to that cheat sheet and say, okay, yeah, okay. And you can really give your clients some very strong information that has great base in research. And so it's not going to be like you're, coming out of nowhere with this stuff. It's something that we use every day in clinical practice. So now, does anybody have, one more thing I wanted to say about this. I'm going to put this website up for 2 weeks, okay? And the reason behind that is because I want to start doing the live webinars within a month or so, which means that in the next 2 weeks, you've got to log in as an affiliate. You've got to put the affiliate link on your website, write a blog or something, download a logo. I don't know what you're going to do. If you only sign up as an affiliate, that's probably good enough. But I'm just telling you, I want to kick you in the butt a little bit and get you going. Because now's the time to go when you're going to get a ton of support, okay? Because the support is going to always be there, but it won't be there like this. We're going to do everything we can to try to launch this and get you guys going. But we don't want to launch it and then have people just not particularly interested. So we're really interested in taking care of the particularly interested people who think that they really want to be involved with this. We're making it 2 weeks, And then we're going to start the live webinars in about 30 days. We're going to start doing all of them. And I like the live webinar so we can answer questions. And it'll be a little bit more interactive than this. This is just more a presentation. It'll be back and forth about each biomarker until everybody gets it, and then we move on to the next one.
Right. Let me ask you a question. The cheat sheet you just mentioned, is that going to only be with people who sign up and purchase and do labs, or is that something that's going to go out with our replay, or what is the delivery of that?
So that'll be only for the people that do the webinars.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So sign up for a webinar and they actually go through it, then we give them the cheat sheet. It's really important that they understand the context behind the cheat sheet. I don't want to just hand out cheat sheets and not have anybody understand the context or be able to ask questions. So I'd much rather offer it with the webinar. So
okay, awesome. Okay, let me just clarify a couple of things. So when you start talking, I can clear some of these questions. So we've got a lot. So a couple of things, you guys, as health coaches, if you're only working within the state that you live in, and you live in a restricted state, I'm sorry, if you're only staying within that state, the only thing I can think of that you can do is to look outside of the state, the closest place that has a Quest, and somehow help your clients find a way to order them in another state. So all of those questions about what do we do? How do we do this? We don't have an answer for that. I mean, unfortunately, and there is a little bit of information in the prior webinar, which you'll be getting in the replay. So please watch it in totality. The other thing is Canada. We actually talked about that in the prior webinar as well. So please, Jennifer, watch that. And let me just put this out there for you guys. I am doing a follow-up training for health coaches as well, where I am actually going to get super deep into the language exchange and how to talk to your clients and when it may be or may not be appropriate to order labs. I'm going to put a link in the chat here so you guys can check it out. Just know that it's all going to be directed back to this panel. And one of the reasons I am so excited about this, beyond the fact that you're so generous with your time, Dr. Allen, is that this is something that I have been looking for 5 years when I've been working with coaches. Something that I can, solidly recommend because of the prices. I went out and shopped this, you guys, before I agreed to even do the prior webinar. The prices are unbeatable. The way that it's all delivered, the fact that you can add these hard to get tests from conventional medicine on is, that's just a bonus. There's just so much more to this platform than I've ever seen before. And that is one reason why I was so excited to do this. So this is a good deal. This is something that can be a game changer for your practice. All right. So let's go ahead. You want to wrap up and then we'll go to questions, or is that what is?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I just want to mention one thing about being in Canada or being in another country or whatever. I mean, the internet has really made it absolutely awesome in how we're able to deliver information to people. Sure, you might not be able to get blood work done yourself, or maybe your client, if they can't get to another nearby state, then they may have trouble. But actually doing the webinar and learning about it and talking to your client about testing and labs and stuff, it's all part of being an advocate. So I do think there's value there. There's also value in writing blogs. We have one of our affiliates who wrote a book, and she put her affiliate link. We designed a custom affiliate link for her. And in her book, she lives in Canada. She, of course, sells her book all over. When you write a blog, people read it all over. If your affiliate link's in there, somebody can click on it and then go to our website. Again, it's just a resource for them. It doesn't mean that they have to even buy. It's just a resource where they'll come and they'll learn more, and then they'll get a chance to make that decision for themselves. It's really all about, trying to open the doors to people. And what you can help us do is be somebody who's a trusted, place to go on the internet. I think we all still worry about that a little bit when we put our credit card in somewhere, wondering, is this really okay or not? But as you can see, in direct access lab testing is becoming far more acceptable. So I wouldn't let where you're located stop you from becoming an affiliate and putting it in Facebook and blog posts and stuff like that. So that's what I would say about that.
Okay. There's a lot of people asking about asking you to address and talk more about lipoprotein A. I just want to clarify that if they sign up for the cholesterol webinar and all that, you do talk in depth about that, right? The test comes with it and the webinar as well.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Lipoprotein A is part of the advanced lipid panel. It's something we look at along with all the lipid subparticles of HDL and LDL. And so it's taking a much deeper dive than your usual fasting lipid panel that the doctors order. And it's really where research started going about 10, 15 years ago, when we began wondering why people were still dying when they were at their optimal cholesterol levels, they still were forming plaque. And so part of the answer was we found out their lipid subparticles were horrible, and many had lipoprotein A. And the interesting thing about lipoprotein A is that it's very geographic. So your risk if you're from, say, the continent of Africa is about 30 to 40%. Your risk here is 20%. But I have a whole presentation of lipoprotein A included with all the other subclasses. That's the answer.
Okay. And then you guys, I'm answering questions over here for you guys to make this flow right along here. And one of the things I just want to say is, I put the sleep study that you mentioned. I actually went out, grabbed a link to that. It's in the chat. So I put the questionnaire is already out there for you guys. So for those of you asking me about it, please scroll back through your chat, grab that link.
So there's two, just so you're clear. So there's the Berlin.
That's the one I found.
There's the Epworth Sleepiness Scale. Those are the two. So it's the Berlin questionnaire and the Epworth Sleepiness Scale. Those are the two that if they fail either one of those, then they need to be referred for a sleep study. And most likely, at least here in the United States, their insurance will pay for it if they fail one of these two things. So as an advocate for your client, you could simply say, hey, you know what? I'm concerned about this. Can you fill out this paperwork and let's just see how you score? They score badly. You tell them, hey, you should take this into your doctor because you have a concern about having obstructive sleep apnea. You can literally save somebody's life and completely change it. And it's funny, I just have a patient who I saw yesterday in my office who came in for 3 years. I've been trying to go get her to get a sleep study done because she failed the Epworth and the Berlin. And for 3 years, she resisted me. Just this last time, 3 months ago when I saw her, she decided she's going to go do it. She's being treated, and she said her life has completely turned a corner. And why she never listened to me, she didn't know. And now she's telling everybody. So I think that's the opportunity. So it's kind of funny because you think that, come on, I'm telling her to do it. Why don't you do it? But no, people will really resist that because they're so afraid of the treatment. So I do think that there's some care that needs to be taken in approaching it and understanding why it's important before you just lay that on them and tell them they got to go get a CPAP. Because most people automatically think, I got to get a CPAP. No, I don't want that. I'm never going to do that. So they never get tested. So that's kind of where you can come in and sort of massage the conversation a little bit and really encourage them to do it. But it's the Berlin and then the Epworth Sleepiness Scale, and they're available online in PDFs.
Okay, and I just put the Epworth Sleepiness Scale in the chat as well, guys. Grab that for you. So here's a good question from Tracy, or no, not Tracy. Tracy, hold on a second. Where did it go? Michelle, and this is one that comes up very often in my training with coaches. When I teach thyroid or anything, this comes up constantly. She says, my biggest struggles with labs is understanding where the functional values are as opposed to conventional values listed. I've searched online, but I haven't found anything that gives me a functional range for labs. And I have many answers for that when I'm teaching. But what's your best answer for people that are like, okay, it's fine conventionally that the TSH is over 2, but functionally we want it below 2. Yeah. Is there across the board a way to learn what a functional range is, or do we go symptomatically, or how do we learn this?
Yeah, so this is a great question because I will tell you that functional medicine doctors, at least that I know, I've talked to people at the very top of the organizations of functional medicine, and they all kind of have the same feeling, and that is not one functional medicine practices just like the other down the street. There's no complete uniformity to the practice. So it's, if you go to one, they may tell you another, they may tell you another. So I will say right off the bat is that is going to be completely on the functional medicine physician or provider you're seeing. Now, for me, for my particular cheat sheets that I put out, they are specific to the tests that we test, okay? And they're very specific to where the research shows there is a benefit. So this isn't, I heard it from somebody down the street or whatever. This is where research studies have been done that show there's a benefit to this particular person being in this particular range. And then we pretty much know how to fix just about every biomarker. The problem is the fix is not oftentimes easy. Lipoprotein A is a huge example of this. It doesn't change with nutrition, so no matter how good they eat, it's not going to change. If the doctor decides to put them on a statin, which I hate statins, but sometimes we have to put people on them, that doesn't change lipoprotein A. If you put them on really high dose niacin, which is a B vitamin, which is something you could do. Hey, you could try a B vitamin, go down and get slow niacin over the counter. If they take enough of it, say 2,000 milligrams a day, that actually may lower lipoprotein A, as will omega-3 and CoQ10. So as part of my cheat sheet, I try to put in all the things that any health coach could potentially do. So because I want a very natural approach to things, and then I also want you guys to know when you definitely need to advocate on this person getting treatment that's beyond what you can offer them in terms of possibly even medication. You don't want to have a diabetic coming to you and you're not addressing it by sending them to your doctor. So as an example, that's a real clear-cut example. Somebody who has diabetes who doesn't know needs to be seen by their doctor because there are lots of things that have to be done. We've got to, screen their eyes and do retinal exams, all these kind of things to make sure they don't develop a retinal hemorrhage. So anyway, so that's kind of my answer is the cheat sheet that's provided in these webinars is the way that I put it out there specific for our lab testing platform. So if somebody wants to know what I do, that's what I do. It's what most conventional, non-conventional guys are doing. Anti-aging and functional medicine are doing what I'm doing. I've had functional medicine doctors look over my stuff and give feedback, and a lot of the feedback has been provided by functional medicine doctors at the higher levels of functional medicine. But I understand the complaint and the concern is because it's kind of all over the place depending on what you read and who you talk to. And even if you have 3 functional medicine doctors in the same town, they oftentimes will disagree with each other. And it's a source of a little bit of frustration, I think, in that community. That's my impression anyway.
Okay. There's a lot of questions about insurance. I kind of just mentioned first let me back up for a second. Lots of you are saying, if I live in New Jersey, can I order labs for my clients? Let's be super clear, you guys. You're not the ones ordering the labs for your clients. You are an affiliate. For those of you who are new to affiliation, when you sign up to become an affiliate, you take that URL link for the website, you share it with your client then orders through that URL to this platform, you get credit, you get paid, they get the labs, you stay safe. Like, these are the basic steps. You are not to be ordering labs for your clients. You are putting this into their hands and making them accountable to their insurance, to their HSA, to themselves to provide you with the labs. Because one other thing I want to just mention, since we're on, talking about the legalities of this here, you are not allowed to receive labs from the doctors. Okay, that is a HIPAA. That's a HIPAA issue right there. You should never get labs from a doctor about your client. Labs should always come from the client to you. This solves that problem miraculously, right? Because if they get the labs through here, they then turn around and share it with you guys. Again, your clients are not ordering you're not ordering the labs for your clients, right? So Dr. Allen, do you want to add anything to that or talk about the insurance?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I want to talk about insurance because the 2 huge barriers to doing this are, number one, why don't you just take my insurance? And we don't really get that because people that come just kind of know that, but I can tell you that's the huge barrier here. That has been a completely different conversation since 2014. What happened from 2014 to present day is deductibles have now skyrocketed. Coverage for lab testing has plummeted. We used to get 70 to 80% co-insurance for labs. Now most people have 50% or less. And this whole business, the reason why I'm doing yourlabwork.com literally came from patients that I had in Florida that wanted lab testing done. I didn't have any contracts in Florida, so I sent them there. They had, a deductible of $5,000 like most people. I sent them to the lab work. They called me and said, my tests were $3,000. It's all going to my deductible. Can you help me? And I tried to help them because I had regional contracts where I could get them lower pricing, but I didn't have anything national. And so I started thinking, man, if I could somehow get national contracts, I can actually save people money. And so if they would have gone through me at that time for those particular tests, it would have been about $400 or $500. So that's kind of the conversation now is, yeah, you can go through your insurance, if you have good insurance, if you have a low deductible. I can tell you how a patient the other day who had one of the best insurances we have here in Texas, and she complained because we sent her for the blood testing and she said, oh my gosh, I wish I would have done this directly instead of had to do it through my insurance because I think I would have saved money. Well, it turned out that we actually could have saved her a little bit of money, and she had pretty good insurance. So I think the insurance question really is, sure, you can go to your insurance, which would require a visit to your doctor to order the test that you want, to order the right test you think that you need. I have to tell you that's becoming less of a concern now because of the deductibles. People are just kind of slowly starting to get it that, we're stuck having to pay the majority of the bill, particularly when it comes to consumerism and prevention. So if we want to prevent a disease, I can tell you the advanced lipid panel isn't covered by Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's not covered by United. So if you're going to order it on somebody and they try to run it through their insurance, they're going to get stuck with a $1,000 bill for an advanced lipid panel. And right now, I'm telling you, you yourself could go get it for $159, plus you're going to get 20% back. Your client will get it for $175 on our website, and you'll get 20% of that for referring them. So it's just about being a transparent resource. And, for people that have high deductibles, they're pretty open to this idea, and I think that's why the market's increasing so much. There's a huge need for it. People want information, and they don't want to have to pay the enormous prices if they were to go directly to a Quest Lab themselves. I had a person go directly to Quest Lab, no insurance, nothing. They charge them amazing amount, like tenfold above what these are. So really utilizing our contracts to give the person a better price is going to be helpful to them. It really will. It's not you're not doing them a thing at all, or a disservice. And anyway, so if you have patients that are in New York or New Jersey and stuff, you're going to have to tell them they're going to have to go to their doctor and they're going to have to specifically request these tests. And the HIPAA part, we can never send you results, even if you were the affiliate for these people. The results go directly to the person that ordered the test, and then that person is responsible for sending the test to you. They can send them to you via email if they want. The way that we send our communication to all our clients is through encrypted email, meaning that we require a password, which is usually their date of birth, to open up their PDF file of their labs. So everything that we have to do is HIPAA protected so that nobody can steal the information, but everything that you're doing, they have to bring to you. And it usually is that it's easy. They usually just send you a copy of the labs through email.
Okay. All right. So we've got a bunch of questions here. I would love to get labs become an affiliate, but I'm in New York. Any way I can get around the restrictions? So in other words, and this is something I'm not clear on as well, if I lived in New York and I worked with people all over the country, can I sign up as an affiliate and share my URL with them, even if I'm not going to be ordering the lab, but I work with people who will? Is that okay?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. No, we have people, current affiliates who live in New York City itself, and they're unable to send people who live in New York directly to the lab, to the Quest Lab in New York. But either the patient will drive to another state, or oftentimes they have clients in Pennsylvania, they have clients in California, they have clients in Arizona. The internet really has been a game changer. So I wouldn't just think about where you live. I would think about, where do you have influence in your life? So if you have a Facebook account and you have friends all over the US, you have influence. You're an influencer. So you're an online influencer. And so you really can offer it to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And remember, your key is you're just giving them a resource. They go to it, fine. If they don't, fine. You're trying to put the information out there. You're sort of a spokesperson for health. So yes, the answer is, if you're in New York, you can sign up as an affiliate, you can put it on a blog and whatever, and you just need to make sure that if you're seeing patients one-on-one in your clinic or whatever, and they're there, you just tell them, hey, these are the tests we generally like to do. And I'm super happy to print out a PDF of that circle that I use. I train my health coaches with it and my nurses with it to actually approach every person with a whole person care. That way we don't sort of leave anything out when we're talking to them about it. And it gives the client a sense that they're really being taken care of in a different way. They're not just being pigeonholed into, we're going to just check you for one thing. We're looking at the whole thing here and how we can improve every area. And if we don't think about everything, we might miss something. So let's at least, so anyway, if anybody wants a copy of that, I can definitely get you that, Carmen, and you can send that out. A lot of thought went into designing that little circle. So
that's awesome. And we've got lots of interest in that. And as fast as I'm answering questions over here, you guys are plugging more in. So couple of them that are more than duplicated. Lots of people with the same questions. Do you have a food sensitivity test available, and an MTHFR food test available?
Yeah. So
test.
Yeah. So there is a food sensitivity test on there. It's an IgE only test. We don't have great contract prices on it. I don't really push it that much. We're limited by whatever Quest has. The MTHFR I just haven't checked on. So I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, we did talk about that last time too. And you said, I mean, just as a reminder, you guys, this is a new platform and they're just building and growing. I mean, as we request and talk, they're considering and thinking about and reaching out, but this is not as simple as saying, oh, hey, let's throw an MTHFR on there. You know, this is like when I teach you to build your business, everything takes time. So I'm sure that he's got a note about the MTHFR. It might be a possibility in the future, right?
Yeah. I mean, the way that it actually works is tests are requested, and if we feel that they're going to be high volume tests, in other words, a lot of people order them, then we go to our Quest national representative and we visit with them. We tell them, hey, we'd really like to have pricing on this particular test. That process takes anywhere from weeks to months. We don't have control over that. They get back to us, they assign us a price, we figure out what the price online is, and then we put it out there. So we're going to be constantly adding this stuff. That we really have been going on this since January. So we've been kind of in a huge, just accelerated mode right now, where we're building lots of things. So things will change over time. And that's why with these webinars, I wanted to include sort of lifetime updates on what we're doing, because we're going to be adding new nutrients. We're going to be adding new inflammatory markers. New things are going to come out over time. And we want you to be able to have access to that and not have just something that's old. So the idea is to try to keep you guys up to date as we grow, because we think that's going to happen. So.
Okay. All right. I love this. I love this question, only because I use the same word in here. If we order, hold on a minute, just scoot it up again. If we order the whole shebang, do we get access to all of the webinars and cheat sheet?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here is the nutrient panel measuring cellular levels?
No.
Okay. Let's see here. Let me scroll down a little bit. After the 2 weeks is over, where will you offer the webinars if you don't sign up for it now? Does Dr. Alan have a website or Facebook page where live webinars will be launched?
Yeah, we're working on developing a platform that people can come in and out of and have access to it. I think the answer to that is the idea behind trying to get as many people into live webinars is to get a feel for what people want and what people need. And that's the purpose of it. It's not sort of to cut you guys off at 2 weeks. It's actually to kick you in the butt and get you going and say, hey, if you're going to do this, there's no better time to do it than now. We're building it. We're going to actually build it based upon the feedback that we get from you guys. So we want to get it going quickly. We want your feedback. So I assume that at some point there'll be a repository for this stuff, and we'll try to repurpose it because it's good information. But right now we don't have an answer to that.
Okay. Jen says, as a nutrient panel only test those 4 nutrients? It mentions B9, but it's not listed.
Yeah, B9 probably should be in there as well. Yeah, I don't know why it's not listed there.
Okay.
Yeah, it does include B9.
Gay is asking, is there a way to access your live lectures that you're referencing?
No, I mean, is there a way right now to access them? Is that what?
Yeah.
You know, if you Google them, you might find them, but no, we don't. Again, that is the live lectures that we're going to be building are going to be part of this whole educational center that we're developing. It's going to be a repository for a lot of different things. But you have to understand, like, a consumer's question is going to be a little bit different than a health coach's question, which is going to be a little bit different than maybe a physician's question. So we're really trying to build 3 different platforms at the same time. So at some point, it's going to be really easy for you guys to access it. So what we try to do for this particular group is to build them their own webinars, and then from those webinars, give them access to them for life. So they have those plus all the updates. So you're kind of on the ground floor of what we're going to be building.
Mm-hmm. And whenever somebody starts something new, it's the time to get in, you guys. I mean, it truly is. We've got a question here. There's a company or two that offers an analysis of lab work to professionals by entering results and getting an analysis with ideal ranges and interpretation. One is blood chemistry software. Do you see your company going towards something like this, or are your goals different?
Yeah, I looked at the blood chemistry stuff. You know, I don't like it. It's confusing to me. I don't, you know, having been in the lab industry for a long time, seeing the stuff for the last 7 years, I don't particularly like their platform. I've looked at it. I've talked to them, tried to figure out ways to integrate what they do with what we're doing. And I think it's better that we design our own. So we're embarking on making our own platform that will deliver similar, but I think maybe a little bit more interesting and sort of an up-to-date look to it. That's how I felt about that. I mean, reading it as a provider, I was confused, and I should never be confused.
Right.
I mean, I shouldn't be confused. So I'm reading it, and I'm like, I don't really. It was just all over the place with all sorts of random things that there was no cohesiveness to it for me where I could fit together the puzzles. I'm very simple-minded, and I like to build programs that anybody could come into and say, you know what, this actually makes sense, and I can easily connect dots. And for me, nothing against them. I don't know them or whatever. I'm sure it's great. I mean, I'm sure it's great. I know Ulta Labs uses them. But I just didn't like it. That was just the bottom line on that. So we have to design one ourselves because there isn't anything else out there. We've looked around. If you know of something else out there, let me know because I couldn't find any.
Okay. All right. Do you suggest having the advanced lipid panel if the traditional cholesterol is good?
Yes, absolutely. Traditional cholesterol has been what's failed us. So 50% of the people that come see me in the emergency department that have a heart attack are at their cholesterol goals. Okay, so it's not about total cholesterol. It's not even about LDL cholesterol. It is about your balance of your subparticles and whether or not you have lipoprotein A. What pattern type do you have? Do you have the light, fluffy kind of cholesterol that doesn't tend to cause disease? Or do you have the small, dense kind? And the beauty of learning this stuff is there are very natural ways to actually fix those problems. I mean, some of the most potent things that we do for these people are very natural. And you guys could say, why don't you do them? I mean, you're not diagnosing anything. You're saying, hey, I know that this light and fluffy and this small dense, and I know if you take more omega-3s, we can probably, you can convert. That does help. We know that helps. That's part of the cheat sheet. You have the cheat sheet, and that gives you some, things to offer your patient naturally. But yes, no, that's for sure. Anybody that hasn't had advanced cholesterol panel, in my opinion, if they're above the age of 21, needs to get one. Because it does provide information out there that we can take real action on. And genetically, we just are missing Lp(a). Nobody knows about it, nobody's talking about it, and nobody's testing for it. And it's not covered by insurance, nobody cares. So on our website, you can get a check for $50, and you'll know whether or not you have lipoprotein A. I recommend just doing the whole panel that includes everything, and then you'll have a great overview of what's going on with your cholesterol. Remember, cholesterol is pretty much an inherited condition. 70% of the way that you produce and store cholesterol is genetically predetermined. So it's not your fault. I mean, it happens. And again, the Lp(a) is completely hereditary. So the difference is grandpa may have had really small amount of lipoprotein A, but he gave it to my dad, and my dad has a huge amount of lipoprotein A. Whereas me, I have a little bit of lipoprotein A. We measure the actual amount, and the higher that your lipoprotein A level is, the higher risk you are of sudden death and early cardiovascular disease.
Right. Okay. Oh my gosh. It just doesn't stop. I mean, I literally have answered 94. We have 42 left. Obviously we don't have all day, you guys, but let me just cover a couple of things really, really quickly. A lot of the questions that you guys are asking are questions that I'm going to be able to answer for you from the certified health coach standpoint, from how to do this in a way that's low risk and keeps you safe. So sign up for my training, you guys. I promise I'm going to cover a lot of your questions that are in here. No, you do not have to order any of these to be an affiliate. If you're not interested in the panels, you can still sign up to be an affiliate. But what we're trying to do is to encourage you to use them, understand how they work, purchase one or try one, or even just go out and get your own labs done, you guys. Someone else is asking, actually a couple of people are asking, does the cheat sheet come with all of the webinars you're offering?
Oh, yeah. So the cheat sheet is specific to that module that we cover.
Okay.
So for example, the nutrient will have all the cheat sheets for nutrients. The inflammation has all the cheat sheets for inflammation, that type of thing. If they do the I want it all, that's the thing where we do the 1 hour with you and we review everything. We just give you access to all the cheat sheets at that point.
Okay, perfect. All right. Still scrolling down here, and I know that your time is, and we've been on an hour and a half here, so we'll just take a couple more minutes here, if you're good with that, Dr. Allen.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see here, and more questions about restriction. I think we're as thorough as we can be when it comes to talking about restricted states. Here's the other thing you guys can do. If you're really interested in making changes in your state, you need to go to your state, go to your .gov website. So if you're in Tennessee, tn.gov. If you're in Delaware, de.gov. If you want to make some shifts and changes, go out to your own government website and figure out how to make those changes happen. We don't have those answers for you, unfortunately and sadly. Okay, wow, still moving.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen, right? I mean, I think if you look at where the market's going, people want this. They want to have control. And the truth is, if the doctors don't want to see them for preventative care, why not do it? Why not get more information out there?
Yeah. Okay, Linda, yes, we talked about the APOE4 is in the cholesterol training there. People are asking about Candida. They're talking about Lyme. We're stepping outside of conventional lab testing in the health coach's mind of the things that we may run into or see. Do you have Lyme testing, and what kind of testing do you offer for Candida, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we do have some Lyme and Candida testing. Those are considered specialized tests. They're far more expensive. And my thoughts on that was, when I wanted to set this up, I wanted to set it up around hitting the key components of aging and trying to figure it out. Now, obviously, somebody who is going to have some of those other things, we're going to find probably inflammatory markers that are gone awry. You might find some nutrient deficiencies. But if there's a specific concern about Lyme disease, that person can come to our site and request to be tested for that, and we can test them. We just don't put it out there because you have to understand that's a very small market. It's not a huge market. Our problem in the U.S. is extreme. It's unbelievable what's going on with diabetes right now. 79 million people with prediabetes, 29 people with diabetes, obesity rates 40%. I mean, we really wanted to make sure we didn't pigeonhole this lab company into doing just specialized tests. That's what some of these other lab companies do, and they do it really well. So I would encourage you, if you're concerned about a person to the point where you're wanting to dig in deeper into either the gut microbiome or you want to do specific micronutrient testing, that you refer them to some of these other labs that do it. And I think you have information on those lab companies that do it. This is, I like to think of this as the bread and butter, but it's far more than bread and butter, because we're going in so much deeper and we're packaging it up in a very unique way that really addresses the key areas of aging for the common person. I mean, this is something that you yourself, you don't have Lyme disease, but you probably do have problems in these areas, because we're going to find them. I find them in almost everyone. I'm telling you. It's very rare that people get through and they are completely normal.
Right. Okay. One question was, what is the customer support? So say the client orders some labs and they're like freaking out, and the health coach is like, I can't answer those things for you. Do you guys offer support for them to look at the labs and interpret them, or what kind of customer support is there?
It's not legal for us to do so.
Okay. All right.
We've had people, we have a chat bot on our site. So that means that people come to our site. Now, a few health coaches have already come to the site and they've asked for different tests and stuff. And so I've already sent those questions on to Quest. So I did hear you. The chat bot, we interact with people and they'll ask us medical questions all the time. Am I supposed to do this or that? Because we can't provide medical. It's against the law for us to do what we're doing and provide medical care for people. Yeah. So what we need to be able to do is to be able to refer people to people who can provide them guidance, right? And so that's part of kind of what we're setting up, is trying to figure out a referral. And this is where, you might be able to help us with your health coaches, is to be part of a referral network that we might send people to. But I'm going to want your people who are part of the referral network to really know what we're doing with these particular labs. So you and I can talk about how we can prepare people for that. But that's kind of my answer for that.
Yeah. And, I'm going to teach you guys how to do that. I'm going to teach you how to, when people come to you with these labs and they're freaking out and they're asking you all these questions, come to the coach training. I promise you, I'm going to over deliver. You're not going to walk away going, now what? I don't know how to use this. This is important enough to me that I'm going to teach you how to do all of the pieces that are around this particular lab platform, you guys, and use it so that you can add value to your practice. You can help people. We spread the word that, you don't have to be chained to a conventional medical doctor to get the things that you need to get started on your food and all of those things. So, just sign up. I promise I'll answer it. Let's scroll around here. We got lots of questions about how lipid panel particles should be checked. you guys, if you're interested in going in deep about APO and lipids and particle size, if you have that many questions about this, you need to do the test and do the webinar. There's no possible way to answer all these questions. It's impossible. I mean, we're still up to 43 questions. So yeah. Let me just see if there's anything else quick we can go to. And here's the other thing. I'm going to be saving this chat. So anything that's in this chat or in these Q&As, I can take and answer in the training, or I can reach out to Dr. Allen and maybe we can do something more in depth. But this is a lot going on here. Can we purchase the webinars only? Or
yes.
do we have, okay, so the webinars are available for $50, and you don't have to do the lab. If you've already, as many of you have said, I just got a bunch of labs done, oh no, that's fine. Purchase the webinar if you want to learn what your particular labs that you got back, what they mean. So let's see here, hold on a second. You don't do stool testing, right? Or saliva? I'm making sure.
No, we do. So we do some saliva testing. We do saliva cortisol testing. So the cortisol testing, we do that. Stool testing, it kind of depends on which kind. Patients typically, that's not a high volume thing, so we don't have it up on the website. We do have the 4-point cortisol testing up on the website under the a la carte. You can see it, but we don't have stool testing up there. And I don't know if we have contracted prices, because I don't know that anybody's asked me specifically for a stool test. The way the process works, again, is if somebody has a test that's not on there, then what we do is we research it and submit a request to Quest, and then they get back to us eventually with their pricing, and then we can add it.
Okay.
And remember, there's 4,000 Quest locations, so not all of them are equipped to actually do the testing. So we have to. That's why we have stuck with pretty much blood, because pretty much all of them can draw blood and can send it off to the Quest labs. Okay.
All right. So just some conversation going on. I went ahead and closed the Q&A because I scrolled through as many as I could that would make sense to ask you on the front end. And let me just make sure there's nothing else over here. Chatter. You're welcome, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Allen and Carmen. Really appreciate this. So just remember this, you guys. When it comes to working with your clients, and they say, well, I got all my labs done and it's all fine, right? Oh, it's all fine. My doctor says it's all good. One of my favorite things to do is say, well, maybe they think it's good on a conventional level, but if you're interested in letting me take a peek at it, go ahead and share it with me. And then when I get my eyes on something, if someone's TSH is 3.5 and their free T4 is 0.9 or something crazy like that, the guidance that we can give is to say, it might be best to maybe do some retesting since this was 3 months ago, and then you direct them here. That's the other thing is just because they had a test done once last year doesn't mean that everything is okay. We have to remember that ill health is cumulative. So if their TPO and TGAB and thyroid and TSH was all good 6 months ago, but they're symptomatic of eyebrows falling out, hair falling out, and tired today, that test means nothing to me as a health coach. I always say, time for a retest. Let's take a peek at what's happening. And then we redirect to someone that can help them with medications and things like that. We are only on that other side of things, food, sleep, movement, all of those pieces. But once a year is not enough, in my opinion, for testing those baselines as far as thyroid, if someone has symptoms. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. No, if they have symptoms, we oftentimes will check them several times. I was talking to an NFL player that I was on a thing with, and he told me, he said, he goes, I really believe in what you're doing, and I can tell you that just personally, I get my blood work checked every 6 months. Because I'm in pretty good health, but I want to see how I trend over time, because I want to see something coming and try to reverse it early. And I really think that not a lot of people think that way. And, certainly people don't like to get their blood work done. Nobody likes to get stuck with the needle. But I think that if we have an approach on, I really would love to see health coaches just dig into some of these labs, because we really have packaged it up in a way that's actually quite understandable. And the more that you do, the more that you see, it's just going to be repetition over and over and over again. It's going to be so comfortable to you. This can be extremely overwhelming if I'm seeing this for the first time. Now, you have an advanced group and they know a lot of different things, but packaging it in this way, if they just see it over and over and over again, it just becomes boom, 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 second nature. It becomes so easy to them to not interpret the labs, but to know exactly where to point that client and what the resources are available for them that are trusted resources. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we want, right? We want it to be easy and not intimidating, because right now, the barrier to doing this is, does my insurance cover it? Okay. And the second part is, I don't know what test to order.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so that's where you guys could come in and say, look, I think that these particular tests might be helpful. I see that you've had these other tests done. These are common tests. Maybe you benefit from some of this. And they go get the test done. You review it with them and you just talk to them about it. So you guys are a solution, and you're going to be a really, really good solution if you go through the webinar training that I offer. I promise you. And again, remember, if you get nothing out of the webinar training, you get your money back. Okay, I don't have any problem giving somebody money back if they don't think they got anything out of it. The training is good. I can just tell you that because I've done it for years, training doctors, and I've made it really, refined it over the years. I think it's really good. You'll learn far more about it than most doctors know, which is cool. But we're going to make it really easy to understand so you can implement it in your practice.
Yeah. All right. Do you mind if I do, before we wrap up here, about 5 more minutes, I would like to do just a real quick kind of step-by-step what this would look like for these health coaches if they start to use this in their practice. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, sure.
And you correct me if I get anything wrong here, but because there's a lot of questions about how do you share this and where do you share it and things like that. I will cover all of that in training in depth, you guys, but basically you sign up to become an affiliate. I've given you the link. You purchase one of these. Let's just say you do the nutrient the panel. You watch the webinar. You're like, gangbusters, this is awesome. I don't have to have a 6-month program to learn how to interpret labs. All you have to do is share your URL with your clients when they sign up with you if they're interested in getting labs, or you see something on that extensive intake form that I provide you guys if you're a student or whatever, 25-page intake form that's going to give you an idea of what you may want to look at that's going on with them. So go ahead, Dr. Allen, you're good. Just like we just looked at that thyroid panel or the example earlier. So, with something like that, you're going to understand that would be a valuable lab for them to have. You would share the URL to the thyroid panel. They purchase that test. They go get it done at the Quest lab that's nearest them, and they only work with Quest, you guys, for those of you who have asked. They get the lab done. The results come directly to them, okay? Directly to them. They send those labs to you. You look at them and go over them together. I'm going to show you how to do that in the training. And then if there's something concerning or something that needs to be taken further, your language and how you deliver the information to them is the key. You may say something like, I noticed that your eyebrows are falling out on the outside. From what I've learned, this could be indicative of a thyroid problem. These are the tests that I would suggest you look into. We're going to go into all that detail, but that's how simple it is. You can share your URL, your website or affiliation on Facebook, on Twitter, on Pinterest. It can be a standing banner on your website. However you want to do it. You guys, you can even add this as an a la carte thing on your services, which I'll talk more about in training. But just know that with all of these health coaching things that are available to you out there to learn how to order labs and interpret and do all of that, this takes that away from you. You don't have to do all of that. You simply sign up. This is a resource for your clients. It's a resource for you. And it's low risk because the client goes directly to the lab and orders. They don't order through you. So you're not ordering for them and saying, well, I went ahead and ordered the TSH and the APOE and did all this for you. No, you're saying to them, this is what I see. These are the things that I would suggest and recommend. Here is my link. You go out to that link and purchase what you think is best for you and share your labs with me, and then we'll go from there. Now, just remember, Dr. Allen said you guys at the front end, you're a source of education and information and helping them. You're also on the other side of that doctor's appointment if that's what they have to do. Okay, so if they have to go to the doctor for something, you're over here on this side saying, all right, now let's work on all of these pieces that can help shift those numbers. Okay, so that's kind of the step-by-step process with this. This is like almost so easy, you guys. Anyone could. My 12 or 13-year-old now, but my 13-year-old could do this. Okay. So the goal of this is to make this easy, to help more people, and to take the risk out of your coaching practice. That was the goal of this webinar today, is to reach more people and be more proactive and not reactive. All right. So to clarify, we sign up as an affiliate before we post link on website or Facebook. Yes. If you're only sharing your labwork.com, that's not your affiliate link. You've got to sign up, get your unique link, then share that link. Send it out in your email newsletters, post it on your page. It doesn't matter. People will start checking it out. All right.
I was going to say one more thing. One of the best things that we've had our affiliates do is when they go get the testing done themselves, they actually take a picture of them actually getting their blood work drawn, and they write a little bit about what they did and how easy it was. and then they put it out on their Facebook with their URL, and they say, hey guys, if anybody's thinking about doing this, I got this done. I got my results back. It was easy. Don't be afraid. And that's how they did it.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
Your personal experience is what people are going to relate to. So I would strongly encourage you. That's why I really believe in kind of going through the process so you can see how the mechanics of it work and feel really comfortable with it. And if you do that, you can share that. Just as simple as Facebook, you're going to have a URL. There was one question about there's people signing up to be affiliates, is what they just told me. And it was the process. They sign up for an affiliate, and what we do is we approve them. It's a computer-driven thing, so they're going to get notification that thanks for signing up. We're reviewing your affiliate deal, and then we're going to approve you. The approvals will come through in the next hour. So what we're going to do to make sure everybody gets credit, gets their 20% off as an affiliate for these tests, what we're going to do is we're going to manually go through these to make sure we're not going to miss anybody.
Okay, and for those of you, let me say this. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's my commitment to you. Is I want to make sure everybody's taken care of, and that what I said is actually transparent and true. And so we're going to manually go back through and make sure that the computer systems aren't going to mess anything up, because we threw up this page literally within 48 hours. And this page is all custom designed just for you guys. Yeah. So, and it took a lot of work on the developer part of it. So we want to make sure that if there's an issue that you guys know you'll be taken care of, because I want everybody to know that we're going to deliver on what we say.
Okay. Yes, and if you don't have to be a student or a member of my mentorship group to take advantage of this. Just all I ask for the time that we're investing this and the training and all of that is that you use my affiliate link to sign up. For those of you who don't know how this works, when you sign up through IFHC, through this link I'm providing with you, there's this thing called cookies, and they're not the sugary kind we like to eat, but as you navigate the site, it will track you, okay? So that's the same thing that happens when you sign up to be an affiliate and you share that link. Once someone signs in with your link, cookies will track those people as they navigate through the site. So you don't have to share the nutrient panel link and then worry if they decide they want the cholesterol panel instead. It tracks them on the back end, you guys. So it's called cookies. Look it up if you want to know, but just know that if you use that specific link, you're covered, okay? Dr. Allen, your terms of service page on the affiliate sign up does not work, FYI, okay? Yeah, no, you don't. Do you have to get lab work there first? No, you don't. I mean, you don't have to get your own lab work, but we're encouraging you to try the platform so that you understand how it works.
Oh, the thing with the terms of service, I will say that I did notice that a few days ago, and I put off fixing that so we can get this up. On the dashboard, if you click on it, once you get approved to be an affiliate, you're going to have a dashboard. That dashboard is going to track everything. It's going to track your referrals. It's going to track your payments. It's going to track the resources. So that's where you can come and you can download the logos and maybe some blogs and all. As we put in more resources for you, that's where you can find it. Also on the dashboard, there will be terms of service, and you'll be able to click on that and read through that if you have any questions. Another question that came through was, I noticed that on your affiliate site, you only do 10%, 10 to 15% for affiliates. Again, you guys are all getting 20% basically because of Carmen. That's why you're getting it. And so that's fantastic for everyone. Mm-hmm. But that's the difference. So you're going to read that and have questions and say, well, hey, this is different than what you said. Again, you 20%. And just to give you a background, our average order right now, since January 1st, our average order is $368. So 20% of that would be whatever, 70, 75 bucks, something like that. So that is that's what our average is right now, just to give you an expectation. So you sharing it and you talking about it can really, put a few dollars in your pocket. You don't have to feel bad about it, because these prices are extremely good prices for people. They're about 30% below direct lab prices from what I can tell overall. Yeah. So I think we're highly competitive. We're sharing, a lot of this with you guys too, so that you guys can benefit and help maybe grow your business. We want to be there to grow together.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those, and remember this, you guys, a lot of people are afraid of doctors. No offense, Dr. Allen, but they're afraid of letting the doctors see that they're interested in other labs, or they're afraid to ask for them. And so if someone's like, well, I just don't know if I should ask for that reverse T3. I'm nervous about that because I don't want him to think I don't think he knows what he's doing. They can still go out and order it here and see what their inflammatory marker is for that reverse T3. And then they'll be able to see that it's normal, it's not. And you know, they don't have to bother their doctor unless it's something they should, you know, they should bother them about.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we do get a lot of that. A lot of people that are hesitant to ask for stuff, or they, unfortunately, we have people that have already asked their doctor and the doctor told them no.
Yes.
You don't, the specific wording is, you don't need that. And that's where I think that we could take the power back and we can say, you know what, I'm going to order it myself. And I'm telling you, just like anybody else, doctors are wrong some of the time. And so I think it's okay if somebody's suspicious and they're worried and they want to pay for it out of pocket themselves and they can get it done easily. Man, this is a resource for them to go get it done.
Yeah.
T3 has been one that we've had that same issue come up over and over.
Yeah. Okay. Lisa, I'm going to be doing talking points on why people should run labs through this platform in my training with health coaches. Yes. He just said it's 30% less than other labs. I looked into that. Absolutely. He's right on. It's not just a marketing tactic. It's true. I did go out and look at 4 different other companies. So, logistically, how do I get the sample to send in? You get your orders, Betty, and you take those orders to the lab that's closest to you. And just for clarification, you don't have to have a website to be an affiliate, okay? There's lots of people that, well, when I get my website up, I'll affiliate. You don't have to have a website to be an affiliate. You can use that unique URL in your emails and on your social media. So don't let not having a business set up or a website set up hold you back from this, you guys. Sign up now. It's a good deal. It's the way to go. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. How about you? Are you good?
Yeah, I think I just want to just tell people that are ordering the test, I'm just going to tell you kind of how it works. So what we do is as soon as you order the test, we get confirmation through PayPal. Then what we do is we send you out a lab requisition to your email, and that lab requisition will have the list of tests on it. And then that's the lab requisition that you'll print out and you'll take with you to the nearest Quest lab.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm a fan of this. I mean, I have been ordering my own labs locally for years because first of all, I love to look at them. I'm a geek like that, but I also don't necessarily want to involve my doctor on everything I'm doing because I feel like I have a pretty good handle on my own things that I'm doing with my health. And I work with doctors around the world as well, not just locally. So having this ability is huge. I mean, especially for me, someone who likes to do this by myself, you know?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And if you are a Health Coach Mentorship and Mastery Group member, or you are a student, my training for you guys on the 5th of April is free. Please do not sign up because I cannot go back and refund over and over again. If you're a student or a member, it's free for you guys. If you are not a student or a member, it is not free. So go ahead and use that link to sign up, okay? It'll be worth your time, I promise. I love to over-deliver and I love to teach, just like Dr. Alan does. So, all right. I think we're good, right? I know there's probably a lot more. We could spend all day on this, but I think we need to wrap up. It's almost 2 o'clock.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to get sick of me, especially if they're going to sign up for the webinar. So.
Oh, I'm not at all. Are you kidding? I could talk to you all day. I'm fascinated by this, but all of the interaction, you guys, it's been great. You guys are a bunch of smart people. I mean, the questions you're asking are good. I mean, you guys, and just the fact that you're interested in stepping outside the box on this stuff to make a bigger difference and be a better health coach is really, really impressive to me. So, Dr. Allen, do you want to have anything else you want to finish up with? Any reminders?
No, I just have an interesting point for everybody. So on this yourlabwork.com IFHC page, the beautiful woman in that video is my wife.
I was going to ask you. She's gorgeous.
So, and if you play the video, she's very well spoken.
Oh, I'm sure she is. And let me throw this out there too. She's going to be doing a kinesiology training for me. For health coaches, yes. She's going to be my expert on kinesiology, so we're going to try to get that on the books for April too. So I'm super excited about interviewing her as well. You guys, my comment to her was, you guys just keep bringing the gifts. I mean, like anytime I ask for something, you just keep bringing it. So super appreciate that. And for those of you who are wondering about the successful doctor's appointment templates that you had mentioned earlier, Dr. Allen, that I created. Those will be a part of the health coach training as well. And they're also available if you want to go out and get them on my website as well. So they're a powerful ally to people having a successful doctor's appointment, is to be completely prepared, just like you mentioned.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love that. I really love that.
Awesome. All right. Thank you
so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope to see many of you on the live webinar in a month or so. If anybody has any issues at all, they can always reach out to us. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And I'll be talking to you soon. I've got lots of ideas going through my head again.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Bye. Bye, everybody.